Hello, thank you for joining me today to look carefully and to talk about one of my favorite paintings. My name is Andrea. I'm an educator at the National Gallery of Canada in Ottawa. Make yourself comfortable, get a cup of coffee and a cozy seat. We'll be here for about 15 minutes. Know that you can pause or stop this video whenever you need. You can watch this guided looking activity on your own or with a partner. Slow looking is an approach based on the idea that if we really want to get to know a work of art, we need to spend time with it. And in that time, you'll find things that maybe you never noticed before. Today, I'm going to show you an artwork in the gallery's collection. I'll ask you a few questions to think about, and I'll also share some of the things I find interesting about the work. When we take time to look carefully at an artwork, we see and learn new things. So let's get started. Let's just look quietly at this painting for a few moments. Notice where your eyes wander. Notice what you like most about this picture: the colors, the style, the story. This is a painting by Jacob Jordaens and his workshop from around 1640. It is titled "As the Old Sing, So the Young Pipe." It's quite a large painting. Its width is about as long as your bed. The artist, Jacob Jordaens, was Flemish, and he painted this in Antwerp, in the country of Belgium. It is painted with oil paints on canvas. When the gallery reopens, you'll find this popular painting hanging in our European galleries. This realistic picture is a colorful and festive one, with a large family gathered around an abundant table. There are many details to notice, and the more we discover, the more secrets we learn. Let's start with the 7 figures representing 3 generations. Here are 2 children. Here are the 2 parents. And here are the 3 grandparents. Each of them is frozen in time, either playing a flute, singing a song, or gesturing something. We'll come back to them in a moment. Did you notice the different animals? You probably saw the dog in the lower part of the picture. There's also an owl perched on the back of the grandmother's wicker chair. A parrot at the edge of this table. And a bird cage with open-beaked baby birds. The table is overflowing with a feast, and the artist has created a feast for all our senses. On the table, we could imagine tasting the sour lemons, the shrimp, the fresh fruit, and smelling fresh bread. We can imagine the noise they make with their flutes and their singing. And notice how the artist has brought to life so many textures, including the ceramic stein, copper plate, wooden furniture, wine glass, flowers, candle, paper, rich fabrics, and so much more. Even though this picture is a family portrait from almost 400 years ago, There are probably many things in this picture that look familiar to you. So now that I have described many of the elements in this picture, what do you think is going on? Let's look at some clues to give us ideas. Let's start with the title, As the Old Sing, So the Young Pipe. The title is a proverb, meaning that children take after adults. It's a light-hearted warning that we should be careful of how we behave, since children are always watching, and in this case, imitating their elders. Notice how both children are playing flutes just like their father. See the standing man in the center who plays the recorder and is imitated by his son in front of him? The baby on his mother's lap also blows a golden whistle, a teething toy, just like his father. The parrot is another symbol to underline the proverb, just as a parrot mimics, the younger generations mimic their elders. The fool, standing and looking directly at us, points to a wicker cage with a mother songbird and two babies trapped inside. By looking at us and directing our attention to the birds, he's inviting us to pay attention to the proverb's meaning. And the jolly grandfather is setting a poor example for all, taking delight in the abundance before him. Is this what will become of them all if they continue along this path? In the 17th century, scenes of celebration, tempered by moralizing messages, were popular and a reliable source of income for artists. What kinds of pictures do you have in your home? I'm going to guess that a very few of us have pictures of teaching us how to behave, or in this case, how not to behave. What kinds of celebrations or holidays bring you and your family together? Are there things in this picture that would also be found on your table? In my family, we often light candles representing the family members who are no longer with us. We also decorate with flowers of the season, and we break out the good china. If Jacob Jordan's and his workshop were to paint my family, I would want some of those symbols in my painting. The candles, the flowers, and the family china. What symbols can you find in this picture? Jordan's has included all sorts of symbols that help us better connect with what's going on. Do you remember where you saw the owl? Owls are symbols of wisdom. Whose chair is the owl perched upon? Yes, the grandmother's. Perhaps the artist is suggesting that the grandmother is the wisest? Or maybe by placing the owl in the scene, he's enjoying the joke with us. There's not a lot of wisdom in this family. The owl is also a symbol of night and death. Other symbols that remind us of our inevitable mortality are the cut flowers, the snuffed out candle, and the faded book pages. This artistic device that artists use is called a Memento Mori, or in English, remember, you will die. It is a composition the artist knows his viewers will recognize, and in this context could be interpreted in a variety of ways. Maybe it reminds us to be careful. Life is short. Or maybe, as I like to hope, live it up. Life is short. In either case, the artist recognizes that life is short. Jordan's and his workshop made many versions of this subject. In this version, we see the family singing a ballad titled A New Song from Calais, a protest song supporting the Dutch rebels against the Spanish in Belgium in 1638, just 2 years before this picture was painted. The song would have had resonance with a local audience, as the Dutch were intent on seizing Antwerp. You can see that there are many details and textures included in this picture, so Jordan's had a workshop of artists, usually apprentices, that helped him finish his big paintings. In the 17th century, painting pictures for wealthy patrons is big business. We know from research that the artist himself is responsible for laying out the composition and that he painted the most expressive and important elements of the picture, the faces and hands. But assistants were responsible for much of the rest of the painting, including a specialist in still life painting. That is why we credit Jacob Jordan's "and" workshop when we speak of this artwork. He wasn't alone to create this painting, and this is typical of artists of that time period. And here's something else you'll love. Though it's hard to see in the reproduction here, you can take a closer look when you see the real painting. Jordan's must have repositioned the head of the dog, but we can still see that this golden dog in the foreground has 3 ears, one on his far side and 2 on our side. I love that part of the painting because it reminds me that artists too make mistakes and fix them all the time. Finally, this spirited family enjoying the pleasures of life leaves us cautiously entertained. What is your favorite part of the picture? Are there things you're wondering about? Spending time looking carefully at an artwork reveals all sorts of mysteries and sometimes raises even more questions. Thank you for joining me on this guided looking activity with one of my favorite pictures at the National Gallery of Canada. This picture can be found on the second level of the gallery. I hope you'll come and see the real painting when we reopen. I look forward to guiding you through another artwork in the National Gallery's collection soon. Goodbye.